Yeah, I'm not a TV guy, for the most part. I really have to know like somebody who did it or just something, spectacular. You know what I mean? So that's just for me.
It's not you weren't necessarily the demographic for that show. How to Get Away with Murders. That was cool.
Yeah, because all I want to do is just stick a Kleenex through the screen every time I'm watching that one. Like, man, just somebody pass this lady some Kleenex. Big up stuff. She be doing her thing, man.
That vessel is open. You can't help what happens. I snot too.
That's fine, but if I'm the other actor, here's what I'm at. I'll be telling Tasia, like, all right, so I'm not an actor. Everybody knows that. But Self, if I'm doing a scene with you, right? I'm telling you some bad news, whatever, and you're just acting and snot's coming out. It would seem like most human beings would be like, hey, you want to wipe your nose?
No, when that happens to me, I've never had anybody, unless it's my therapist or my mama, say here's some tissue.
Yes.
And they let you sit there with it?
Though. No, they don't.
Well, she's saying actors don't. Right.
I'm saying in real life. I'm sorry.
That's what I thought she was saying in real life. That's what I thought she was saying. That's
you
what
see
I'm
this?
Like, what?
No, I'm like, I'm not going to sit there and watch this lady snot. Let me turn my back while snot's all over herself.
You take care? It's a...
Yeah, let me turn my back. I got to eat tonight. I want to eat tonight. I don't want to think about this.
Might want to take care of that.
Teach his own. I'm
talking about myself. That happens with me, so I can't even have nothing to say to that. But just know that few times have people handed me a Kleenex. I just need you to know that in real life, it's few times when people will say, "Here, wipe."
Wow. I thought that was a Chicago thing. Let me look at what are you doing? What are you looking for? I'm looking for some Kleenex, for God's sakes. You got stuff going on there.
Did you see that?
People's nose run on the bus stop, and folks, because it's cold outside.
Yes. So if I'm standing there and hey, you want some Kleenex, brother? I got it.
This.
Yeah, it's true.
She's right.
All right. Well, any myths? We do this one? Any myths about the industry that you'd like to clear up?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I feel responsible for clarifying any myths. I don't know of any. I can't. What would be a myth be? You have to tell me the myth. None pop in my head right now. No myths pop up right
now. All right. Any family quotes, scriptures, words of wisdom, maybe your mom shares or, that you hang your hat on?
Yes. My mother's philosophy is there are people who are for you. There are people who are for self. And there are people who are against you. And you have to know where to place those people. The people who are for self aren't against you. They just have no capacity to be there for you because they're only focused on them. So if I apply that to my friendships, my relationships, it helped me to process the ones who expired before I was willing to let them go.
That reminds me of the quote I came up with a couple of weeks ago. What is it? The proton will never understand the electron, said the neutron. It makes sense somewhere. What's your
makes perfect sense.
What's your take on Black Lives Matter?
It's necessary.
All right. Now we are at the film American Skin. What's your role in the film, and can you tell us like how you got involved in the project? Like, did Spike reach out and say, "Man, I remember her from The Brick"? No. And did you tell Spike that The Brick is that people in your family would be offended by calling them The Brick? But go ahead, Dexter. I digress.
No, that didn't happen at all. That's the myth that I want to dispel. That's how this industry works. It does not.
Okay, well, good. See, there we go. There's the myth. Sweet.
2 for 1, two for. Okay.
They don't call you from 15 years ago and say, "Hey, I got this part."
Well, Nate. Actually, I worked with Nate in 2008, and I actually auditioned and was up for Birth of a Nation. I was shooting Strike Back at the time, and then didn't get that, and then was offered this. And so that is how the relationship benefited me getting it. But I had to continue to work on my craft.
Facts.
As well as cultivate my own relationship with this
Facts.
business, because people like to work with those that they trust. That's a real thing in every business. You know, you have a lot of lives and livelihoods at stake here. You know, the business is
You can't be not showing up. You can't be not showing up. You can't be late. You can't.
Listen, they can. You can't.
You can't. Right.
You cannot.
You know how much money they pay for that?
Are that's doing it. I have to just say this. Whoever they are that's doing it ain't you.
For a long time. And even like say Denzel Washington, he wouldn't even show up late.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Right.
You see.
Although he could.
But there's a reason that people really do respect.
Because he earned those relationships, and you're not going to blow those relationships by just wasting everybody's time and disrespecting people.
Because people's time is valuable. We only get a certain amount, all of us. And we just remember that we only get a certain amount of time, all of us. Every human being only gets a certain amount. And we don't know how long or how much of that time we'll receive. And so with the time we have, we respect other people's time and see it just as a value. You reap the rewards of that. People appreciate that. And that involves working and having a career and having a relationship and knowing that if I say I'm going to be here, that person expects me to be there.
Bam.
Not at least communicate, because things happen. Listen, things happen. I have gone. I had an audition for this film. I had locked my keys in the car, and all of my stuff, my
phone, everything.
No, headshot. That's what I'm trying to think.
Okay.
Material that you need for the audition was in the car. I locked it because I was so anxious to get to the audition. It was at the Chateau Marmont in Hollywood. So it wasn't a traditional casting office. I locked my keys in the car. I was like, I have to go to this audition. I had to focus. I had to be there at a specific time. I couldn't worry about that. I've had accidents on my way to auditions, and recognize that when things happen, that's when you communicate. You call your agent, you call the person that is vouching for you and let them know, I'm okay, I'm en route, but this happened. People understand that things happen and they receive it when it's genuine, and obviously it's something that's unexpected. And so that is important in this business particularly. I forget your question if that.
Well, no, that was great advice too. And you don't want to be, yeah, I mean, that can't be you all the time. You don't want to be Richard Pryor out there, always calling and with a story. But if something is happening, and people can absorb that when it's genuine, because it's going to be rare.
Yeah, it's going to be rare. That's how you know.
Right.
Listen, unless you're just that person, then that's just, you need to contact a therapist, because you really do got some PTSD in the cloud, and you're tracking this kind of energy. And that is a real thing. Self-sabotage, fear of success, fear of failure shows up in these kinds of obstacles that you set up. And you don't even realize that you're doing it because you don't believe you're worthy of receiving it. So you're setting up these things that are stumbling blocks, and you're not understanding that if you just pivot present, you can walk over that and miss that.
Right.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Because, man, life happens.
Life happens.
And
So
making plans.
facts. Go ahead, Tori. You was asking something, or
no, I was just stating, she came in and you came in.
all right. Well, break down to us the role you're playing in this big film, American Skin.
American Skin. I am playing the mother and the wife to Lincoln, who is Nate Parker's character who directed the film.
I saw her standing there, excuse me, and she was looking like she had the cat in the bag when her character was standing there in that little snippet. And it was just looking at me, and I don't know anything about the movie, but it was just looking at me. So like the mom has a lot more go-getter in her and has a lot more like I don't know what she's going to be saying like publicly. Like she might even be putting that work in herself. But go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
That's okay. Yeah, I wound up reading the script. I saw the intention behind the story. I was on board with talking to Nate about the character, what I wanted to contribute to this story, and I'm playing a woman who has experienced losing their child to the police. With that is a very heavy burden, is something that many Black women, particularly in Chicago, have experienced. And so I represent their position in America, which is feeling as if there's no one who is representing them not getting justice.
Yeah. And it's there was a theory in the Willie Lynch, philosophy. I guess they would castrate and, butt break the biggest males and, the most alpha males of Black people, on the plantations, and they would do it literally right in front of the women and right in front of the mothers. And then somewhere in the subconscious, the women now are raising the children by any means necessary. Don't be in that position. And you're either getting butt broken psychologically or it's happening physically. What would you say to that?
Absolutely. That's a conditioning that it gives you a different perspective of hierarchy, because it goes against our whole tribal makeup. Like, we respect our matriarch. We respect the king who's on the throne, just tribally. We're just talking about just in terms of our ancestral tribes, right? These things have value. We respect our elders. You start breaking that down and you start minimalizing the impact of what a father figure would have on their family, and you strip them of their dignity and their manhood, or emasculate them in some way to project your power over them, it'll have an impact on the entire family psychologically, and then like a virus, it'll spread. That's an intention. There's a reason that many of us women feel like, we have to compete with men. I used to feel like I had to compete with men. That means that automatically I am seeing them in opposition. If I'm competing with, against, whatever, word, whichever is interchangeable, there's a, level of opposition there, as opposed to we're going to win collectively. Like that's a different mindset.
But where is that learned? Because you didn't learn that in charm school. So where do you think?
I definitely didn't learn that in charm school.
Right. So where do you think that? came from?
I did a lot of work. I've been in therapy. I was in therapy for a number of years, talking these things through. I
Yeah.
remember when I was in high school, I have to give credit to a teacher's name is Mr. Woodruff. The
Big
curious,
ups.
he has transitioned. And
Man,
I
messed up.
remember meeting him. And when I say meet, literally, I'm walking down the hallway and he and another Black teacher are there and we meet in the hallway.
Mhm.
Serendipity. God knew this was somebody who needed to give me some information that was necessary, even for this moment. And he asked me about what I wanted to do with my life, my future. We were talking. It was Mr. Woodruff and Mr. McCowan. I feel like Mr. Woodruff taught humanities, I think. And I told him I wanted to have a kid and I was going to Howard. And in my